for the talk. Today's talk, today's sermon, whatever. At some point, I'll bring in some biblical stuff. Let me do this. Hour on. All right. I hope I'm audible. If not, whatever. Okay. So, I think we're connected. Today's question is: Are we human or monkey people? And I'm just going to present a framework that it's just food for thought. This is again. I always like to make it clear that this channel is not about promoting truth, because truth is contextual. Excuse me. It's not about promoting truth. It's not about disseminating truth, anything like that. If you're looking for truth and you want to find the truth, um, good luck. Okay, so truth is contextual. Truth is made up or designed or based on the context in which it's occurring. Okay, and so to give you an example, um, it is true that the atmosphere is safe to breathe within the context of Earth. It's not true that the atmosphere is safe to breathe on Venus or Jupiter or something like that. So that's just a simple example. Truth is true within a certain context, and so we don't promote truth. We don't say that we have the truth. We just have a framework, something that works, and a perspective. And this perspective that we present is one that you can test and you can apply to your life, and you can see if you get the results you want. And so today we're talking about the difference between humans and monkey people. And the reason I use that sort of thing, I probably should use humans and humanoids, is because from our collective, the Coherent Church of Comprehensive Christianity, from our collective perspective, the people of Earth are not human. They are humanoid at best. Why? Because there's nothing about the people of Earth that are actually human. There are very few. It's like if I saw a bunch of birds, sparrows, drowning in a puddle, I would never call them ducks. Well, they're in water and they're flapping their wings around. Aren't they ducks? They've got feathers. Don't ducks have feathers? Don't ducks have beaks? Don't ducks have wings? Those are sparrows. They're drowning in that puddle. So you look at the people of Earth, there's nothing human about the people that live on this planet. They are all slaves. They have no sovereignty. They fail to live in a humane and civilized way consistently. And they believe in sky phantoms, whether it's Darwinian sky phantoms, evolution, or anything like that. And so generally the perspective that I'm sharing here, the potential, the idea here is, what is a human and why do we think that everything we see around us is human? I think that what we see in the world is just monkey people. All right. All right. Monica, thank you so much for joining. All right, Elizabeth, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, thank you. I appreciate the sub. Appreciate the sub, Monica. So so let me give you an alternative perspective of history that actually you can verify. Again, I'm not saying anything that is true here. Nothing I say on this channel is truth, but it is something that you can verify. It's something you can test, and it's something that is evidence based. Okay, so don't come here looking for truth. You're not going to find it. So consider this. What if, this is a hypothetical here, what if the ancient gods, the ancient heroes, the ancient goddesses were just humans? Let me give you an example. The ancient Sumerians had a tale of these Anunnaki, right, that came to earth from heaven, and they bred a slave race using the dust of the earth or the beings that lived here mixed with themselves, and they created this intermediary type of creature, the Adamu. Okay. Now, there's a lot of ways to interpret that. You could say it's just an ancient allegory, which is probably correct. You could say that it's ancient aliens, like Ben, I think it's Billy Carson would say, or Zachariah Sitchin would say, or you could say maybe they're telling us something of a political allegory. Perhaps in the ancient past, there were members of our species, and we, by the way, we are the only humanoid species on Earth right now that is known about. The Neanderthals are extinct, Denisova are extinct, and there were various other species of human. But anyway, I digress. And so let's say that there was a species of human that could breed with people, what we are, and we'll call this humanoids, and they created us from mixing their genetic material with some sort of monkey thing that lived on the planet. And then they created different types of humans to operate within different types of ecosystems. They created darker skinned humans to operate in more sunny climates. They created fairer skinned humans to operate in temporal zones. But let's say that the people of Earth, which I won't call human, I will refer to the people of Earth as humanoid. The humanoids of Earth were the result of humans using technology and a superior intellect to create a subhuman creature called a humanoid, a person, and they created this humanoid as a terraforming species on the earth. Now, you may say, well, that doesn't make any sense. That's not logical. That's incoherent. That can't be true. Well, think about the difference between a Yorkie Terrier or a Chihuahua, if you're not familiar with Yorkie Terriers. A Chihuahua, a teacup Chihuahua, which is a dog that's about this big and it is teeny tiny. You basically call them hawk food because if a hawk sees one, it'll just go down and snatch it and eat it. Those little tiny dogs called Chihuahuas or Yorkie Terriers were bred from wolves and coyotes. They came from that lineage. Now, if you put a Chihuahua next to a wolf is bigger, stronger, smarter, longer lived. A wolf looks like a god compared to a Yorkie or a Chihuahua, teacup Chihuahua. Now, the ancient humanoids, our predecessors, described these gods as 10, 12, 18 feet tall, mighty, powerful, indestructible, brilliant, long lived. Now, a wolf can eat a Yorkie Terrier with one bite. Chomp, done. They can eat a Chihuahua with one bite. And by the way, coyotes often will eat Chihuahuas and these others, right? Coyotes are smaller, but they're still more robust than some of these other dogs, these smaller breeds. And so we can use that analogy and say, is it possible that other human species, real humans, these 18, 10, 12, 20 foot tall, perfectly beautiful, multiple century living, exceptionally intelligent humans were seen as gods by our predecessors, who were something of a low bred, half monkey, hybridized, genetically modified thing? Could that be possible? Well, it's within reason. It's within reason. So think of it now. If we were to take the rhesus monkey, by the way, we have done this. Again, you can verify all of this. We have taken rhesus monkeys, which is a tiny little monkey that, whatever. You just look up the rhesus monkey, RHESUS or whatever. And we've taken that monkey and we've combined human genetics with that monkey so that we can study pancreatic cancer and insulin dependence and things like this. So we have not half human, but human rhesus monkey hybrids in labs that we test and study. We've been doing this since the early 2000s. Okay. This is not new. Just look it up online. Just test everything I'm saying. And so imagine if we could take this little monkey and give it enough intelligence, design it such that its brain worked well enough that it would get our mail for us, walk our dog for us, feed our cat for us, clean our kitchen for us, but only intelligent enough to take our orders and do what we told it to do. And then all of a sudden a disease came up and killed everybody, like super COVID came and just killed all the people off the earth. And now what do you have left? These half human, half rhesus monkey creatures that are about 2.5, 3 feet tall, and they walk around. They would look at us as gods. They have the ability to speak. They can do little tricks, but compared to us, their IQ is like 50. Our IQ on average is 98, but some of us are up in the 150s or whatever, right? Imagine that. How do we know that that's not what happened here? There seems to be a lot of evidence for that. And again, nothing I say here is true. What I just shared with you is a hypothetical example. In the framework of the church, we distinguish between humans and people, or humans and humanoids. We don't think that most people in the world are living a human life. They're living as slaves. They don't have the requisite neurology to see that they are slaves. They don't have the requisite neurology to think for themselves, to be accountable for their lives, or to live from a place of power, prosperity, purpose, and pleasure. They lack that basic thing. And so the formation of this collective is to identify individuals that have the requisite neurology to live from coherent satisfaction and create civilization. Because we don't have that on the planet right now. There's no such thing as civilization right now. It just does not exist. If you think the United States is civilized, that indicates your level of civilization. The Nordic countries are as close to civilization as we get. Japan, the Nordic nations, and Singapore. Outside of that, the rest of the world is either uncivilized, subcivilized, or savage. All right, let's get into the comment section really quick. Thanks for all the subs, Monica. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Jean Ann. Appreciate your subscription. Hey, I finally found a good talk. Thanks, DMA. Appreciate it. All right, there are some theories I have that we are monkey people. Yeah, yeah, and I think there's yep, tailbones. And by the way, that was Ison Garcia, or it could be Garcia if the G is used the way that the Italians use it. So yeah, there are some theories, yeah, that we are monkey people. More seed research is needed, and so and that was a cream jury says more seed research is needed. But again, I just presented to you a hypothetical, possible, and plausible reason why you look in the world and you have so much weirdness, cannibalism, war, people killing each other just like constantly. I mean, I get it. Like if someone's threatening your life and you need to protect yourself, or someone is actively threatening your child, you need to protect yourself. I understand that. Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing what you have to do to make sure that you and yours live safely if you're under immediate attack. But if you are saying, no one from that country over there is harming me, let me see if I can blow up their babies. That's what we're doing. I don't, that's something that just doesn't even compute in my brain. I don't understand how that even makes some sense. Humans in the United States specifically, we have hundreds of millions of tons of food around the world that goes into trash cans, nutritious, edible food. And yet, right next to those places, you have homeless people starving, nothing to eat. You have children going to bed hungry every night, malnourished, so their brains don't develop, and they are often growing up to be adults that are absolutely useless to society. And this is in countries like the United States. Places like Northern Europe, Japan, they've done a better job of this. They're a little bit better about taking care of their poorer populations, the indigent populations. The United States, especially places like California, wants them dead, and they slowly kill them off. I'm laughing not because it's funny, but because I find it horrific. I often laugh at things I find horrific. I've seen a lot of terrible things in my life. So that's one of the things that I've observed. And so it seems that if you have a human, it would automatically have the ability to recognize when its life is in danger and when its sovereignty is violated. And yet you have all these people that do 9 to 5 jobs. They run to their job every day. I used to be one of these people. You get in your car and you like white knuckle it to work every day. You hate your life. You hate your job. You cannot wait for cancer to come and end your life unconsciously. And yet you call yourself human. That's not a human life. That's the life of a slave, of a troglodyte monkey person slave. And so the solution would be just end your job. Just like walk away from your job tomorrow. No, you can't do that because you live in a system, a looping cycle of suffering that is designed to keep you in it forever and ever and extract your intelligence, your power, your time, your love, your interest, all of this. And there are a lot of you who are like, yeah, it sucks, man. I can't get out of it. Now, if you're young and you have no children, you have no responsibilities, you have no people that depend upon you, you might have the ability to escape that system and create coherent satisfaction, joy, power, purpose, all that stuff in your life. But what if you've been bred to the point where you cannot see it? So you say, I'm going to leave my job for another job, or I'm going to leave this person that I'm in a relationship for another person who treats me better. And then every time you change, it just repeats the cycle. You feel good for about 6 months, and then a year in, you just wanna cuss your boss out and quit, but you can't. And then you look up, it's 5 years. You look up, it's 12 years. You look up, it's 25 years. You look up, you're 65, and now you're ready for retirement, praying to God, the Sky Phantom, to relieve you of that horrendous life. 67, you get your retirement. 68, you're dead of cancer. That's not human life. That's not a human life. That's not coherent. And how many millions of people in the Western world who call themselves civilized, who say they have a good life, God bless America, get to look forward to 72 years old with fucking squamous cell carcinoma on their face, or heart cancer, not heart cancer, lung cancer. I never smoked. I took supplements. I ran every day. I was very healthy. I was a vegetarian, dead at 70. Human is actually, excuse me, even the monkey person is designed to live for 120 years with full health, and we don't do that. So, in this discussion, I just wanted to drop the seed of awareness that the world is not populated by humanity anymore. And those which we call the gods were probably just full blooded, fully bred humans. The difference between a wolf and a chihuahua. A wolf and a teacup chihuahua is the same difference between the Anunnaki gods, the UFO extraterrestrials, all that UAP, and an everyday average Joe that does his job and prays to his magical sky phantom. So the question is, are you a chihuahua, a teacup chihuahua, or you are a wolf living in chains, domesticated against your will? If you're a wolf, if you're that apex creature, it's time for you to start cultivating your power, your ability to create a coherent, satisfying life, and to move in the direction of civilization. Because civilization will not happen without the apex human. We are the interface between the gods and the monkey people. And that's no shitting on the monkey people. All of us are monkey people to a great extent, unfortunately. But we can actually change our frame and awaken the giant within us, the titan within us, the genius within us, and create coherent lives. You're not going to save the world. I'm not going to save the world. That's not our job. We're not Jesus. We're not Superman. We're not heroes. We're here to save ourselves, to create coherent satisfaction for ourselves. And from there, our monkey people, humanoid brothers and sisters can look and say, wait a second, you're not a slave. Something's wrong with you. But they won't be saying that because there's something actually being wrong with you. They're going to say that because they realize there's something wrong with how they're living. And at some point, you're going to have to break away from those relationships, but they'll eventually come around. But anyway, that's what this talk is about. And that's me being mystical and magical about it. Let me see these comments and then get out of here. I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, stress is a disease. Yeah, that's a good lot. Thank you guys for all the interaction. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Apes do come from monkeys. You're right. Mind body exercise is practice for life. Exactly. Plan to retire by 40. Make it happen, Captain Homer. Stress is a disease. It absolutely is. And stress can be valuable to you if you choose it. If you use stress and master it and use it on yourself. And don't let, if someone else is imposing stress on you, it's definitely disease. That's called slave master and slave. And this whole, humanity has been enslaved for 6,000 years. So nobody gets to cry, oh, our people were slaves. No, you weren't. Everybody was. Everybody is. And only the people that are able to break away from that are the ones that are actually there. Thanks for the comments. Okay. Jesus freaks. Yeah, mental slavery. Yeah, yeah, appreciate it. Genius is an act of possession. Yeah, according to the yes. Yes. And by the way, so is the word demon. So demon and genius are synonyms. They're close synonyms. A demon is more associated with like a daemon, an indwelling spirit, an inspiring spirit, and that's daimios or demos or whatever. The Greeks use that word to describe whenever a person was filled with inspiration or something like that. And so it's like when the God spoke to you or spoke through you, you were filled with the demon. And the genius is another word for that. And you find that word replicated in the Semitic word, well, the Arabic word jinn and genius, jinn and genius. The jinns are beings made of fire, according to Islamic tradition. They live in the earth and they're not good or bad. They're just beings made of fire and light. And they're inspiring spirits. And so historically, demons were not bad things. They were just things that inspired you. They got a bad rap when it was when Rome took over Christianity and distorted the entire text. They didn't understand the Greeks, the Romans, poor Romans, so they got all messed up. Yeah, yeah. So how do you refine that electrical current, though? The Damien, yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. 358 seraphim, exactly. There's so many beautiful stories when you go to so how do you refine the electrical current? We are ultimately not what we see. Like this right here, what I'm touching, this is not me. This is not me. I am the thing that looks through these eyes into this camera. That's the electrical spark that is, present in every cell of your body. It's what holds your body together. It's what allows your body to have coherence. It's what holds the atomic structure of everything together, right? Atoms that they found are just mostly empty space, but there's something that holds these things together and gives them coherence. It's what separates the diamond from the dirt around it. It's what separates this body that I speak through from the space around it. And it's actually ego. It's what provides everything with individuality and separation. And so it's not a bad thing, but it's something you want to master. And that electrical spark that flows through us is the divine spark, the divine, divinos, from the vine. And when they said divine in the ancient Greeks, which was perverted by the Romans, they were talking about that which came from vino, vine, wine. Everything divine is things that came from the wine. And in the wine of the ancient Greeks and ancient cultures, it was lots of herbs and lots of psychedelic or psychotropic and even, um, we'll say mind altering substances. And so when you drank that, you saw more of reality. And that's why it was called divine. So anything, when you got inspired and you saw more of reality, you saw divine, from the vine, from vino, divino, right? Divino, vino, wine, right? Pan pan y el vino que contigo viene con, think of that Ricky Martin song, pan pan y el vino. No, it's Cheyenne, but he sings that like bread and wine, bread and wine, bread and wine. Vino is wine, but it's not like the stuff you buy at Kroger or the Safeway or something. It's the old wine where they used to add mushrooms and herbs and all kinds of stuff, and you drink it and you go, oh, and you see the visions, and you'll be like, oh, all of this is fake. There's more to reality. That's divinity. Your aspect of you that's not the flesh, but more than it. That which uses the flesh, that electrical spark. And so, yeah. Oh, thanks for the love. Hey, what's up, Galaxy Cookies? Good to see you. The third eye. Yeah. Yeah, the devil loves that. The devil is also God. Devi, devil, divino. Like there's lots of, devil and divino don't have the same etymological root. But the devil is, again, like when the Romans got their hands on the ancient Hebraic and Greek texts, which made up the Bible, A lot of people don't know that the Old Testament was actually Greek and Hebrew. The Septuagint was translated by the 70 Jewish elders who were in Alexandria, and they infused Greek perspectives, Neoplatonist, Pythagorean ideas into the ancient Levantian or biblical structure. And so when you read things like "you are gods" in Psalms 82, verse 6, or "the gods came through him," or "Satan was in the presence of God," and all this stuff, you're seeing a lot of Hebraic and Greek Levantian stuff mixed together. And the Romans weren't as sophisticated. They were brutish. They were good at torturing. They were good at conquering and fighting and killing and maiming people. They were excellent at that, but they were not civilized. And so they took this Bible or this collection of pagan works and they infused their limited brutish point of view onto it. And so things like demons and devils and spirits and angels, they created this really dichotomy of good versus evil because that's how they perceived the world. They didn't understand that the world was a holistic, integrated, harmonious whole. For them, it was dark and light, good and evil, sort of a thing. And they were more fans of self mutilation, abstinence, self denial. They really appreciated that. And, hence we got a form of Christianity that was uncivilized, savage, superstitious, and anti human. And so that's what we got from the Romans. This channel is about reviving the old ancient version of Christianity, which is more like paganism. So yeah, what's the question? Galaxy could say. Galaxy Cookies has a question. The devil loves all. Third eye loves. Yeah, okay. Box boy. The particle you're talking about, Adam and Eve. Yeah. Proton electron. Yes, from the grapevine. Yeah. So the Adam and the Eve, the Adamu is the flesh. That's what the word Adam comes from. The etymology of the word Adam is Edom, Edom in English, but Edom. It just means red, blood, flesh. It refers to the physical body and the red-fleshed being, Adam, Edom. Edomites and Adamites, same thing. It's separated in different books, but it's the same etymological root. The word Eve comes from Chava, 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 and the Chava is the inner self. The Chava is the feminine, the subconscious self. The Chava is actually the intellectual self, the spiritually advanced, the intellectually superior self. And so the Edom or the Adam is the body, the beast, the brute, the savage. The Chava, which was pulled out of the Adam, notice how it came from the Adam. It was the Yahweh pulled the Eve out of the Adam. Think about how savage brutes, right? They live in the caves, they eat, they kill each other and bash each other's head with clubs. Among them, there's a few people that are subtle and soft and brilliant and think more than just act, right? Those are the Chava, the Eve. They were pulled out of that. It's all allegory. It's political allegory. It's evolutionary allegory. They were pulled out of that society and refined over time. By who? The serpent, the Nachash. And the word Nachash in the ancient Hebraic text means the clever one, the subtle one, the deceptive one. That means the one that is smart enough to share with you the knowledge. And who did that knowledge come to? The inner self, the Chava, the Eve, the woman, the feminine. And think about the story of the Watchers, right? The Watchers were these angels that came and had sex with humans. It didn't really happen. It's allegory. And what they did was they only spoke to the part that was intelligent enough to understand. So what happens when you take a mind-altering substance? It affects your brain. It affects your consciousness. It affects your psyche, your thinking, right? Your thinking, heart and mind. And so, yeah, it might affect your body, but that's only secondary. It actually affects your thinking and your feeling, the inner self. And so that's the whole Bible's an allegory. It's not there was a real man named Adam that ate a apple, and then Jesus, God, said, "Hey, man, boy," that's not real. This doesn't make any sense. Um, it's an allegory. And if you read the writings of Philo of Alexandria, he made that very clear. The Bible is an allegory passed down by Moses. Moses got it from the Egyptians, probably. and it was revised over the thousands of years by various people, the Proto-Phoenicians, the Canaanitish peoples, and then the Hebrews, and of course the Egyptians had their say. The Persians had an influence, the Greeks, or the Medo-Persians and the Greeks, and then of course later on the Romans came and distorted everything, and they created what we know now as Jesus Christianity. So yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the grapevine and the great modern wine, by the way, since the 1500s, the in Europe since the 1500s, 1600s, they started to remove the herbs from wine. And so mead originally had mushrooms and had fly agaric or amanita muscaria in it, or psilocybin in it. There were lots of different wines that were made with herbs and mushrooms and tree barks and even parts of animals like lizards and things like that, like weirder stuff, stuff that was used by sorcerers and witches. But these things were used almost as medicines, and they were used with specific intention. And so you wouldn't just drink wine and go, oh, hey, buddy, let's drink wine and go and try and have sex with these women over there. No, you would drink wine for specific reasons. Think about it. The Zulu, who are in South Africa and in that southern part of Africa, when they would go to war, they would take acacia, which is highly psychedelic, and they would mix it with various herbs and different things and make a certain type of tea out of it. And actually, I believe psilocybin was found in some of their satchels from that time. Psilocybin and some other psychoactive or psychotropic compounds. And they would take this and they would go to war, but there was a specific herb, there was a specific brew of acacia and various mind altering herbs and mushrooms and things like that, which they would take and then go to war. And that's why they were undefeated, because they had the best brew. The Vikings were known to take a mushroom laced drink. It was either amanita or psilocybin, and along many other herbs, wormwood, ergot, whatever. Well, maybe not ergot, that was the Greeks, but there was various things they would mix in, and they would drink it, and they would go to war, and they were undefeated. I think they would take pantherine, amanita muscaria. It's been years since I read this stuff. I had all these books on this stuff. Um, and so they were undefeated. They would go somewhere and they would drink and they would just decimate, because the idea was, if you're going to go to war and kill your enemy, you need to feel his spirit. You need to know the horror and the release of bloodshed. And now we sit in a thing and push a button and then the person's head blows up. That's what our war is now. It's completely detached. But back in the olden days, that's why they didn't have as much war, because when you killed the guy, you were on mushrooms or you were high psychedelic or whatever. Not all the time, but in these sort of cultures. And when you killed that person, you felt his spirit leave. And when his spirit left, that had an impact on you. And in some cultures, you wanted to take his spirit in. And so you look at the various cultures in Papua New Guinea. Again, this is years and years of research and reading and studying. Papua New Guinea and some of these oceanic cultures, that's why they practice cannibalism. They would go fight another tribe. They would take the warriors they killed. They would eat a part of their body, their heart or their brain or something like that, because they wanted to take in the essence of their enemy. And it was a sacred act. And you don't want to do that today. That's psychotic. Don't ever fucking do that. It's weird. I mean, obviously you're not. It's illegal. But that's what the ancient people did. Not condoning it, by the way. It's don't that you don't have to do that. It's psychotic. But a lot of cultures did that. Think about the Aztec. Everyone wants to talk about how the Aztec and all the Native Americans are so peaceful and loving, amazing people. But when the priests would sacrifice the people, they would take psychedelic substances. And I'm not gonna go into details of that. You can look all that stuff up on your own because it's too weird. But I'm telling you that to say that ancient people had an understanding of of life and of death the way that we don't. We're very separated from it, and so it's more sacred. And so you would, even though now we can have world wars, we can drop bombs and kill millions of people and just go to bed and drink coffee. I mean, drink coffee and go off to work. Now the U.S. has drones. They can just send a drone out, blow up a whole village, eviscerate people in them, and all you see is little blotches on the screen. You're like, okay, job done, go home. But back then you couldn't do that. and life was truly sacred. Even in hunting, when you went out and hunted something, you prayed to that thing that you were hunting, whether it was deer or gazelle or whatever. And you'd say, if you want to be eaten by me and my family to feed us, come to me. And my indigenous American ancestors did that in the plains or in the southeast. Most of my indigenous ancestors are Southeast America. Um, everywhere in the world they did that. Europe, Africa, Asia, everywhere. They would say, come to me. My family needs provision. And the animal would show itself and would say, I'm ready to be eaten. Now, I wouldn't say that. It wouldn't say, hey, Bob, okay, kill me now. No, but it would make itself available. And there are many stories you can do. Look at some first primary source documents of settlers who hunted with indigenous people and plains people, like the Lakota, the Glala Sioux, some of these other groups, and watch how they hunted and how they would go out and wait. And they'd say, yeah, okay, we're waiting for this animal to come, or we're going to go and follow the herd, and whichever animal makes itself available is the one we're going to eat. You see, so life was sacred, and so war was diminished. You didn't have as much war in olden times, and it was really serious. Like you didn't have a lot of guys who were like, yeah, let's go to war, let's go fight some people. They were like, man, war, okay, this is serious, and so that's how it was. So anyway, that's a long discussion. But yeah, getting back to the wine thing, wine was for specific reasons. It had a specific purpose. If you wanted to have a baby, you drank this thing. If you wanted to have better health, you drank that thing. It was medicinal. And if you wanted to have a good time, you drank this other thing. And there was place for that as well. So yeah, thank you for listening. Yes, you're right. So Box Boy says the Romans were brutal. They were brutes, savage brutes. Cody Davies says the Ethiopian Bible is the only real Bible. I would agree to a great extent. They are the most coherent form of Christianity. Secondary to them would be other Orthodox and Coptic forms of Christianity, because they understand the interplay of darkness and light. Russian Orthodox is really interesting if you understand some of the stigmata groups. They get really, really interesting. Yep, we have the Dark Ages. Book of Enoch, yes, Book of Enoch is powerful. Understand it as a deep allegory and probably a remnant of our true history. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We need a revival. It's everything's gonna get wiped out. I love linguistics. Yes, thank you, Captain Homer. Prometheus, that's Lucifer. Yep, that box boy, you got it, Captain Homer. Oh, you're Egyptian. That's cool. That's so cool. I was in Egypt for a year. Oh, not a year. Pardon me, a month. Some of my ancestors on my father's side come from Egypt. They come from near Alexandria, the Sais, Sa'al Hajar, Sa'al Hajar, Sa'al Hajar is where they come from. Besayun is the state. I don't know if you're from there, Muhammad Tharwat, Muhammad Tharwat. Okay, Box Boy, this child is very good. Oh, thank you, thank you. It is guarded and it's intentional. We'll make ourselves a little bit more public, but we try to stay in the shadows. Lions Man, yeah, shout out to Lions Man. Yeah, Rise Coffee's some pretty good stuff. I've seen it. And I do use my Lions Man every day. Yeah, yeah, the Britons do that. Yes, yes, the picks, yep. Time of the Divine, yep, Berserker, yeah. You got it, Box Boy. You're on that history, yeah. Heard of a game called Kenshi? No, I haven't heard of Kenshi. Tell us about it. Mediterranean, middle of the world. Yes. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I know that we've rewritten our maps and we have a grander understanding of things, but Egypt is actually at the center of all the landmass on Earth, and it's on the edge of the Mediterranean. So I do think the Mediterranean, the middle of the Terra, right? Mediterranean, it is the middle of the Earth. So yeah, I'd love to learn. Let's see, Kenshi. I'm gonna look it up. Game called Kenshi. I'm gonna have to look it up. And if you ever look up a guy, he's an ancestor now. Kalindi E, Kalindi, and his last name Iyyi. He's a great medicine master, martial arts master, and a master of the Persian rug scene. He used to sell Persian rugs, and he really understood this stuff. He was more attached with the sub-Saharan world and the medicine systems in that world. And if you want to get into really dark occult stuff, go into West Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. I mean, you're gonna see like that's a repository of all the weirdest things that humanity's ever known, because it's so weird there. It's a weird place. I have a lot of ancestors from there, but it's a great place to study. But he knew a lot about there was a he said there was a purple mushroom that they used to um, ingest, kind of like the was that the Black Panther movie. But prior to that movie coming out, many years, he said that he had lectures, and he said it was a deep purple blue mushroom. It was actually purplish blue. I've seen photos of mushrooms that have that color because I have a book about all the different mushrooms around the world. And but it was a deep purplish blue mushroom, and it contained a compound that actually would kill you, if I'm not mistaken. Just look up Kalindi E if you're really interested. It's Kalindi, and his last name Iyyi. He's a great master, but he tells a story about how in West Africa, I think it's in the Congo or in Gabon, they have this purple mushroom or purple. It's like a purplish blue mushroom, and when you eat it, it actually kills you. But you cannot eat it until you're like 80 years old or something, and you become an elder. And there's a secret society of elders that when you eat this mushroom, it actually ends your life. Like it stops your heart, your brain, all that. And what they do is they have this cold spring deep in the forest where they take you, they feed you this mushroom, and they put you in this cold spring right after you eat it because it kills you. It actually ends your heart, your life, everything. And if you revive, there's something about being in cold water does something for your body and your heart, stops you from dying or whatever. It brings you back. I don't know. And if you live through that experience, you become part of this really secret society. And it's not so secret because he's mentioned it, so it's not so much of a secret because we know about it. But that's the kind of stuff that the ancient world had. And that culture, their understanding is that if you've experienced death, kind of like the Kukion from the Eleusinian Mysteries, if you experience death, then you really know life. And then you're able to be more effective as a leader in society. Imagine if all of our leaders had ayahuasca or had a monster mushroom trip or something like that, or at least had a near-death experience. It's not going to the controlled substances, but let's say they just had a near-death experience and they understood the sacredness of life, the sovereignty of being human, really human, not just a slave. Uh, Imagine how they would lead. Imagine how the risks they would take to tell people things that are verifiable. And they would say, hey, look, guys, you're all kept in 9 to 5 jobs, getting paid just under what you need to survive because it's a psychological operation to keep you exploited. And we can do better. And we actually have technologies that can make it so that you don't get sick as much. You get to live pleasant, wonderful lives. You eat foods that are delicious and nutritious for your body. And by the way, all the religions are incoherent. It's okay to practice them, but they keep you from living a full, wonderful, coherent life. Imagine if we had leaders that were honest about that. What would happen in the world? Will we continue to drop bombs on each other? I mean, drop the bombs, whatever, but like, can we leave the kids out of it? I mean, would we, like, what did they do? I mean, I'm talking about under the age of 5, right? What did a 3-year-old do? Um, why are we mutilating children? Why are we selling them as slaves? Why are we selling them into brothels and all of these horrendous, abominable things? We can end that. We can end that in the span of a month, 30 days. That can be all gone. But we're too busy trying to get to work, right? And I'm not look. It's not everybody. It's not our job to go and fight the cartels and end human trafficking and go to war with the system. That's not our job. Okay, our job is to create a life that's so coherent that we can no longer contribute to those systems because we're giving our time, our energy, our love, our money, our genius to support those systems. But imagine if you could live a coherent life and you had relationships that were truly supportive and you had money that not only covered your expenses but gave you a surplus so that you could pursue what you're enthusiastic about. Would somebody be able to come to you and say, hey man, so there's some people over there across the fence and we want to take their shit and blow them up. Hey, you want to like pay taxes, whatever. I'm not gonna tell you not to do illegal stuff, but you want to give us some money so we can go blow those people up? You would say no. I'm good. Like I've got wonderful relationships. I've got coherent experiences. I have children that I care about. I imagine those people care about their kids. Why would I go and destroy their lives and give them suffering? And the same thing would happen over there. If they have what they need and they have the mobility they wanted and the expansion they wanted and could explore life and enjoy their experience and move and grow and challenge themselves and things like that, they wouldn't be coming over to take your stuff. They'd be like, there's plenty for everybody. Why would I waste my energy taking from you? Yeah, I've got enough. And I can always get more without harming you or myself, right? That's possible. And that's what civilization looks like. Not like this. Let's see if we got an explanation of kinship. Yeah, old world music is good, Captain Homer. I saw evidence based on the channel description that worries me. To see, I saw hey, don't get worried. Just do your research, and if it bothers you or worries you, then cut it off. Just seriously, because my objective here is not to create more anxiety for people, because that's absolutely incoherent. The intention is to inspire people to consider more than what is. That's it. I always try to make it very clear. I do not have truth here. This is not a channel promoting truth. We don't have truth. Truth is contextual. And so if your frame is that Jesus Christ is Lord, Christ is King, whatever other belief system you have, this channel is not truth. Okay. Now, if you're looking for coherent satisfaction, this channel still isn't true. This is just an opportunity to consider different perspectives and then say, okay, well, there's an opportunity. There's something else out there. Let me see what else is out there. Let me challenge myself by maybe taking a day off of work every week, or something. And whatever fits within your frame. And let me just see what happens in my life after a month. Your money might actually get better. Your relationships with your family might get easier. You might find out you really like your kids. That's what I found out. I found out I love them. I always loved my kids, but when I got to go to their school, I got to see who they really were. I was calling in sick, going and volunteering at the school when they were little. I loved it. I was still getting paid, and eventually my sick time ran out. And then I had to find another way. But I did it. I loved it. So this is just about consideration. So don't get worried. If you feel worry or anxiety, don't watch this channel. Go find something like watch cats, be evil and laugh at that. Because that's the point of this, is to encourage coherent satisfaction. Microwave is just a clock that can heat up food, if you think about it. I like that, Johnny West. That's funny. All right, Captain Homer said the breadth and the depth of history is amazing. Psychedelics can take you there. Yeah, it can. Yes, it can. Obviously within reason, and always follow laws of your jurisdiction. I don't want to encourage you to do things that are going to jeopardize your safety, your freedom, or your legal status. Don't do anything that's going to harm yourself. This is my caveat. If you want to take psychedelics, make sure it's legal or you're doing it in a safe way. Okay? Wink, wink. Always be safe, guys. Never put yourselves in legal trouble. Okay. Yeah, work from home in human trafficking, exactly. And we can end human trafficking, guys. I mean, that's something that just like, that's, anyway, it's a deep issue. It's such a deep issue. And it's legislating the end of human trafficking is almost impossible. But one of the things that will help end human trafficking is legalizing prostitution so that only adults are engaged in it. And obviously, adults that are not being exploited, adults that have education, safety, insurance, health insurance, education, all that stuff. You can end that trafficking of children by creating an alternative market where you have adults engaged and it's legal. Just like, look, the illegal drug trade with marijuana. How many illegal marijuana operations exist? Very few compared to the 80s and 90s and early 2000s when it wasn't legal in certain parts of the country. And so you had a lot of nefarious things happening. And of course, there's still nefarious things happening, but it's gone down significantly because a lot of this is legalized. So, yeah. Capitalism, yeah. Capitalism, as bad as it is the most, it's pre-civilized. It's pre-civilized. It's actually holding us back from being civilized, but it's pre-civilized. It's better than many of the other systems out there, unfortunately. But I actually, coherent capitalism is actually very healthy, but we don't have coherent capitalism. We have exploitative capitalism that actually harms people, unfortunately. Education, you should not use any. Captain Homer says, educate yourself, and some should not use. Absolutely right, Homer. Captain Homer's right there, guys. If you have a history of mental illness, stay away from the psychedelics. Or, by the way, psychedelics like psilocybin and things like that are actually coming into medical practice, and so they're being scheduled now so they can be used by physicians and by medical experts. And in certain places like Colorado and certain parts of California, you actually can get a license to administer these things. Colorado, not California completely yet, but you want to go to see professionals and get assessed before, if you have a history of mental illness. Always, because I've seen that go sideways very quickly. Someone's on a substance and they've not been assessed. Yeah, like literally your life and their life can be in danger because people can become very unhinged. Think about the berserkers, right? They used to kill people with that substance. So, and the Aztec, they used to use psilocybin mushrooms in their human sacrifice. All right. Legalizing probably, yeah, not index. This doesn't stop child trafficking. Just look at Costa Rica. 95% of cannabis operation in Cali is still black market. Well, thank you for that information. I was not aware of that. I will look it up. From what I understood, though, many of the normal people who don't want to get involved in the black market just go to a dispensary and buy it. They just buy it safely, and they don't deal with the shady underground network of individuals. Um, so, yeah. And with the legalizing prostitution doesn't stop child trafficking. Just I will look into the Costa Rica incident, but I do know of studies that were actually done in Florida, and these were accidental studies that showed that sexual assault decreased by a significant percentage. It was an incredible percentage. It was statistically significant percentage. It was like 70% reduction in sexual assault cases and reports when, for a short period of time, a certain county in Florida legalized or they decriminalized prostitution for a period of time. It was an accident or something. It was like a loophole in the system. And the amount of sexual assault reports and things like that were significantly reduced. I believe it was by 70%. And so with adults, that was beneficial. And I would suspect it would be the same with children. Um, but I think that a lot of law enforcement is lost trying to deal with adult prostitution type things. And if you can redirect their interests toward finding and addressing the problem of trafficking children in that world, I think that's going to be ideal. So I will do the research. Thank you for that. I'll do more research on that. But just from what I've looked at, and again, it's been years since I looked at some of this stuff. Um, I understand that legalizing prostitution does lower the amount of sexual assault and abuse in that realm. So thank you for that. All right. China trade always meant opium trade. Yeah. Not as without capitalism, you have no social program. Yeah, that's true. Do psychedelics if you have mental illness. I would not recommend that. Um, do get support from professionals because I've seen that go sideways very quick with people, and it can be very bad. I mean, it can be very harmful and very painful and trauma inducing. I've seen it go very sideways, very quick. And so I would say, make sure you're in a professional and a safe sort of situation, professional, safe situation if you're going to do something like that. I found that the best situations, I've traveled the world and I've done things around the world in that realm. And I found that the best situations were when they had deep assessments done of participants. And so you fill out a questionnaire, you have a physician sign it, and then you go into the situation with clarity because you don't want to be in a psychedelic situation and someone wig out and think that you're trying to kill them when you're just literally trying to help them and they grab something and try to end your life. That can happen if someone has their brain chemistry is incompatible with those compounds. That's why psychedelics has to be a very very, very, very delicate subject. And so, it's just about safety and research. Captain Homer said, no. Yeah, you're right. I'm old. I've been around the block many times. Luckiest guy I know. I'm glad to hear that. Human trafficking is common. Exploitation, capitalization. Yeah. Uh, capitalization. Capitalization. Yeah. Yeah. Capitalizing on that. If we can, and by the way, there is a market for uh, ethical harlotry. Ethical harlotry. In the United States, I don't think it'll work because there's too much of an exploitative system here. So it's easy to, a lot of people getting exploited here. But it would work in Japan. It does actually. You have prostitution in Japan. It would work in Japan and in the Nordic nations because they're more civilized than the United States. And I've seen it. I was in Switzerland is not Nordic, but it's close to that area. And I saw brothels, and they were clean, and they were beautiful, and those women up there are absolutely gorgeous. Uh, but I didn't have the time to go to the brothel. I would have gone if I had the time, but I didn't have the time. I was in Switzerland for a couple of days, and I went by it though. I went and looked at their menu, and they gave you the whole menu, and it was very clean. It was not out in the open. It was very professional and tucked away, very, very coherent. And so places like Northern Europe, the Nordic people, Japan, and Singapore. I don't think Singapore has any legalization of that. I don't know what they are in that realm. I just know Japan has prostitution, and it's embedded into the culture, and it's coherent. And but the Nordics, the Japanese, and the Singaporeans, I think, would be the best people to practice ethical harlotry because they have a culture that's more coherent and more civilized than just about anywhere else in the world. And so I think they do a better job of it. But yeah, the United States, it would just more people would be exploited. There's too much cultural diversity here to be able to control that. In Japan, it's a monoculture. In northern Nordic nations, it's predominantly Nordic people. So it's all the same, and they've all been acculturated generally the same. And they're coherent cultures. They're very close to being civilized, in comparison to the rest of the world. So yeah, yeah, the geisha culture, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and people do have psychological breaks on psychedelics. By the way, I do want to mention that if you don't know your brain and you don't know your history and family, you take something, you may not come back. You'll take that, and it'll take you. I've heard people taking certain substances, and it, they don't take the substance. The substance takes you. So, and, I've heard stories. I don't think I've seen it personally, because all the encounters that I've had have been with great facilitators who generally knew what they were doing and kept them, pretty safe sort of environment. And they were generally good about sometimes there were some breaks, but no one had a long-term psychotic break. So yeah, yeah. So anyway, this has gone on long enough. We've gotten to an hour. I always go on and on and on. But anyway, that's the difference between humans and humanoids or monkey people. Um, I like to just give that hypothetical, plausible explanation for the ancient gods and the giants and all these things. I think the Titans idea of Mount Olympus, I'm sorry, the Greek idea of Mount Olympus, the Egyptian ideas of the Zeptepi, the ancient Hebrew and Hebraic Jewish ideas of the giants, all these things are probably describing or plausibly describing fully bred humans that were fully human, the way that a wolf is a full canine and a teacup chihuahua is something less than a full canine. I think that humans are more like the teacup chihuahua version of the wolf. Excuse me. Pardon the. I think the people of Earth are more like the teacup chihuahua version of the wolf, and our ancestors were like the wolf, if that makes sense. Anyway, if you're here in the beginning of the conversation, you'll understand that statement. Thank you guys for joining. It's time to end the conversation. We're at 59 minutes, and I'm going to read this last one by Captain Homer. Captain Homer says, very interesting. Love history and the connection to population genetics evolution through linguistics. It's a beautiful study. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you guys all for your comments. And we will have another one coming up where we're going to talk about how Christianity was designed to eliminate the notion of heaven. We don't care about heaven. as comprehensive, coherent Christians. We do not care about heaven. We don't want to go see Jesus after death. That's not important to us. What's important to us is creating civilization on earth. And so our focus is the resurrection of civilization, which means a civil, coherent, satisfied human experience for every single human being that is born into this world, and monkey people obviously included. So thank you guys. Stay Apex.